I am Brian Kelly, chairperson of MIFIA, Michigan Film Industry Association, and we are a trade group which is trying to regain film tax credits in the state of Michigan. They were lost in 2015, and we are trying to re-gauge and re-evaluate what the state needs. So we are working on legislation currently, and we are looking to put in our bill, which should be out really soon, like probably next week, our last draft, and is being sponsored by Robert Wittenberg, Representative Robert Wittenberg out of Ferndale, Hazel Park, and Huntington Woods, the 27th district. So that's me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Motor City Stories podcast, where I talk to some of Detroit's most interesting people, and they tell me about their lives. My name is Christian Hanks, and today I'll be talking to Mr. Brian Kelly of the Michigan Film Industry Association about the uphill battle Michigan's had with securing tax incentives, as well as the precautions film sets are taking in a post-COVID world. If you're unaware, film production incentives in the U.S. are tax credits offered by states to encourage production companies to shoot in their state. On April 7, 2008, the Michigan Film and Digital Media Incentive was signed into law by Governor Jennifer Granholm. This legislation was introduced with the hopes of bringing the Hollywood motion picture industry to the Metro Detroit area, as well as the surrounding regions. The legislation proposed a refundable tax incentive of up to 42% for any media production expenses that took place in Michigan's core communities. For a time, Michigan had the most lucrative film tax incentives in the country. According to an economic report done by the Michigan State University Center for Economic Analysis in 2009, in the first year alone, Michigan Productions spent $65.4 million and directly employed 2,763 Michigan residents. This brought a considerable amount of industry work and jobs to people in Michigan. But unfortunately, in 2011, Governor Rick Snyder proposed that the legislation would be revised and film tax incentives would have a $25 million cap. Compared to 2008, that was only a third of what was spent for that year. Negotiations between industry executives and Michigan legislation resulted in a $50 million budget for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, in 2015, Governor Snyder got his way and officially capped the film incentive budget at $25 million. This all but destroyed any potential production work in Michigan going forward. If you'd like to see film productions coming back to Michigan, you can show your support for the Michigan film industry by providing donations at mifia.org. That's www.mifia.org. On top of that, you can send letters to your local state house representatives asking them to support Michigan film industry. Although it may not be the most riveting topic of conversation, it's important to get the word out about the problems Michigan's film industry has been dealing with the last few years. And I get college credit for talking about it. This is a very important topic of conversation for my discourse community and I, as it directly impacts what I plan on doing for a living. You cannot shoot a film without securing the rights to a location, and if there aren't any incentives for big production companies to come to Michigan, we don't have any jobs. On top of that, if independent Michigan filmmakers don't get a tax break, often their production budgets can't justify shooting in their home state, and often whole productions will shut down as a result. Things are looking up, however, and there seems to be a new legislation being proposed for Michigan productions in this next election cycle. But I can't explain it in half the detail that Mr. Brian Kelly can. So without further ado, here he is.
So the bill entails this. It's gone through many different incarnations, but let me back up just slightly. With the old bill, there was 40 and 42%. There was plenty of loopholes that allowed out-of-state companies to set up pass-throughs that would be able to just bypass Michigan brick-and-mortar already established businesses. They were able to bring in their crew unfettered. And so we as an organization wanted to close all those loopholes, make it more responsible for Michigan taxpayers and more fiscally diligent. So the new bill, which we're still working out, but like I said, our final draft 6, will be is coming back from the Legislative Services Bureau this week. With that is the crafting group in the House of Representatives. They're the ones that actually write it into legalese. As a person who's never really been in politics before, I have learned quite a lot about what it's all about. With that said, the bill will have 25% without a Michigan logo, 30% with a Michigan logo. We're looking at including commercials. We're going to have separate buckets for features and commercials. So features, now when you ask for a bill, currently we're asking for the moon. We know in committee it'll get pared down. Hopefully, we've reestablished what the language is for what a film commissioner is, which was a huge loophole back in the other legislation, and also pass-through companies. Let's say you're I'll take, for example, what they did on Batman Superman. Pascal Lighting, which is a big, huge West Coast lighting and grip company, set up shop in the Pontiac stages there in their warehouse. They were not a Michigan company. They did not have a Michigan presence there. They did not have full-time employees. However, they were able to get credit for what they had. We want to close that and want to give preference, or seedingly preference, to Michigan brick and mortar companies that have already stayed here. So, or to provide for investment in that. So we're looking for people to set up shop, stay here, and continue to do business here. It's kind of like the carrot for the infrastructure. Aside from that, I'm no political whiz, and I'm no legal guy. So it's myself, Mike Anderson, who's also been in the business about 30 years as a local key grip. And it involves Peter Klein, who's a local cinematographer who's been in the business probably 40, and Diane Stratton, who is a local camera vendor, Stratton Camera. So we are all working together, and there are others, but I'm trying to give an idea. We're just not people that are inclined to have done this. So it's a totally grassroots effort on our part, and a culmination of like 3 years. Whoever is looking at these facts and figures and stuff, this is all still in negotiation, and none of this is in stone. This is not a bill yet. It hasn't even been turned into a blueback yet. A blueback is a bill that you introduce so that it goes into a committee. It's still legislation that is coming out of Representative Wittenberg's office. So I just want you to know, if people are hanging on this as the broad strokes, this is all going to change as soon as it gets into committee. So, okay, there are 36 or so states right now that offer film tax credit or incentive of some sort. Now, there are two major things that we've learned along the way, which is there are incentives, sorry, let me back up. There are rebates, which are basically you give them 30% and you give them a check basically after they have done their certification process. They get their certificate and then they get a check from the state. That's what we had last time, a rebate system. It makes it very difficult for states to balance their budgets when they don't know what's having to go out. So I cannot blame the state for being really pissed at the former legislation, because you don't know what your revenue is. And also, it was around that time when we're still recovering from the recession, so money was tight. Now, we have fixed that, and we have made it into a tax credit system, which a tax credit essentially is 30% off of any Michigan liability taxes that you incur in the state. You take your certificate of completion at the end of the job, and then you basically sell those credits on a brokerage, whether it's a public or a private thing that they've designated. That'll be up to the Treasury. But you get to sell those credits on the brokerage for a certain percentage. Now, let's say GM wants to buy those credits for some of their Michigan tax liability. They will cut the check to that production company at the end of, whatever they determine that particular price is. They will take care of the money. But this is no money directly out of the Michigan state tax coffers. It has to deal with tax revenue that would have come in had it not been diverted to the tax credit. And on the way the brokerage works, like I said, is still being worked out, but CPAs and people that are more versed in tax incentives we've been talking to, and this has the tax credit system is in like half of those 36 states, and the rest are rebates. The rebate is kind of like, it's more the easier option, and probably production companies would prefer that, but the tax credit system allows for more accountability for the funds. It allows for more stringent accountability, let's say.
So companies are going to have to provide a little more specific information with what they're spending their money on?
Well, yes. And not, it's not that they didn't have to do that before. It's just with this, there will be a more stringent CPA process. There will probably be a third-party CPA going over everything as opposed to just the Treasury and a CPA for the audit.
So in the Michigan Film and Digital Media Office annual report for 2019, I know it's super riveting stuff. Lovely.
Yeah.
It's reported that only 4 feature films were produced in that time in Michigan, and they weren't exactly necessarily high profile productions. Right. How does that make you feel?
I don't know. I mean, there's a whole new group of young filmmakers and everybody in town. They've gone to school, or they want to be in the movie industry, and they're out of Michigan, and they want to make their pictures. I understand that. There's always going to be people cutting their teeth in the business, and that's what these are. They're smaller productions or very low budget productions that some have had a very high rate of return. You look at, I think that Flint Strong movie that was being shot here just before the pandemic. That was looking like it was going to be a major motion picture, but you only had the exterior stuff shot in Flint, and then they were taking it to Toronto. The Russian 5 picture that was basically done for nothing by Josh. God, I forget the guy's name. Josh something. Sorry. He did that it was very cleverly done, animation and local footage for probably close to nothing, and it won a bunch of awards. I think it won a Cannes. So,
cool.
Yeah, you should check that out. If you really are a Red Wing fan, you really will bring you to tears. Outside of that, there aren't many productions being shot here. However, to show that there is interest in the area, Steven Soderbergh came here with his production of Kill Switch, which was a period piece set in the 50s. I was hired on it, and a lot of others were hired on it.
I was supposed to be hired on it.
There you go. See? He was coming here with no incentives and nothing, but it shows the strength of the area. And there was rumors of a couple other pictures behind that. Now, due to COVID, things have changed. But he is still committed, and the city and the state are still committed to keeping that picture here, which shows that there is interest from both municipalities that they want to keep films here because it's good press. It's just, I think they're looking for some strong legislation to kind of prove their point. So, and that's what we're here for.
So kind of building off of that, that is a perfect segue into my next point. So in an article written by Scott McCauley at Filmmaker Magazine regarding big productions happening in 2020. Sorry?
That's adorable.
It looks like there were a lot of really interesting projects slated to take place this year, but obviously with COVID, that's put a halt on a lot of these productions.
Yeah.
How do you see productions handling this going forward?
So since COVID, since March 9th, I've worked on one thing, and that was last week, and that was a commercial. It was a Chevy commercial. Things have changed considerably, and as a whole, the industry has come out with their white paper, they call it. So it's a collaboration between all the trades and the international, and they kind of and the production companies and everything, and the insurance companies, and they're determining these are the procedures you need done. So on this commercial I was working on, there is a COVID coordinator. You come in, you are your temperature is checked. You come on set. They give you a hand sanitizer and a mask, and you're not allowed to go near Crafty. There's a person that doles out waters or doles out whatever you need, but you don't touch Crafty. You don't hang around Crafty. And you don't stay close together in groups. The COVID coordinator is constantly moving around, telling you to spread out. It worked out rather well for the commercial, and I can see if they keep to that model, it'll work out. Things will work out. It's just a different way to work. The masks are difficult to wear, but you have to do it, especially in the heat. And you're really busting ass. That turns out to be a little bit of a deterrent. But other than that, it works out well. So COVID coordinator, that looks like a job title that I'm looking into. No, just kidding. Man, it's not a bad gig. It works hand in hand with the medic. And it works hand in hand with the producer as well. And they have their safety meeting at the beginning, and then the COVID coordinator has their safety meeting. So I think it'll work out. Things coming back in the United States is going to be slow compared to like Canada, because they got their crap together early, and productions are jumping to overseas quite quickly because they want to finish up their stuff and they don't want to get bogged down with any sort of extra costs. So it's tough. It's going to be tough. A lot of people are losing a lot of money right now. So it's extremely harrowing for myself and everybody else.
How are people budgeting in this whole time?
You can't. If you my personal opinion is, and people we've talked to, people I work with, we're like, it's got to add like an extra 20% to whatever budget it is, whatever the COVID coordinator plus all the extra costs, with the PPE and all that stuff. It's got to add 20% more to your whatever budget you're working with. So it's not too cost effective right now, but I'm sure once protocols and norms are accepted and it starts to work, I think things will start to gel and they'll just get used to that. It's just the new world.
Yeah. And do you see this kind of becoming the new norm?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So definitely, like, when we say like we have a cure for all this, you think there's still going to be all these, like necessary precautions for everything going forward?
Absolutely. They're going like, they don't want any more flare-ups. They may phase out the COVID coordinator after a while, but it won't be for a few years. Mm-hmm. It's meant to cover their ass with the insurance companies and everything. So,
yeah. Well, it's smart. It's really smart, because that would really suck if like you had one guy come in and, like say he wasn't showing symptoms or whatever, but, he like coughed on somebody and then everybody around him, got it. You would have so much liability there. I can't even imagine the logistics of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the onus of, let's say you come in with a fever to work, and you have to quarantine for 14 days. Do you get paid for those 14 days? Probably not. You're about to start, working, and you can't do anything for 14 days. Now they're saying 10, I guess, but whatever. You're losing money right out of the gate without any fault of your own, without any knowledge of your own. But sequestering yourself away from talent as well, that's going to be a big thing. Actors and actresses are going to be really weirded out about mingling with crew and everything. So it's going to be tough probably in the next few years.
Yeah. So does the talent, do they have a different way of going about these precautions? Because obviously, if you're on camera or whatever, you can't necessarily wear a mask. So how does that differ from like the crew?
So they're going to have smaller size crews. They're going to sequester those crews probably for 10 to 14 days. So they know that nobody is breaking out of the pod, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to, sign waivers, and you're going to have regular temperature checks, and you're going to the COVID coordinator is going to be very tightly affiliated with anything that's done with talent on set. And like you said, without them wearing any masks, they're put at risk. So you don't really know how this is going to play out, but hopefully it is going to be okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a bigger questions than me.
Yeah, it seems like literally everything's up in the air.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Just to kind of bring it back to the whole tax incentives, how can people show their support for this? And, going forward, how can Michigan as a state show that they want these incentives to come back?
Boy, am I glad you asked that. So MIFIA has a website. Now, as a group, as a whole, we have hired a marketing firm called Edge Marketing, and they're out of Lansing. They're not free, and they're not working for free. So we have a donate button on our website. Any donations are accepted. I would highly recommend, if you would like to see film incentives back in the state, I would encourage everybody to donate to our efforts. And if you don't have money and you want to help out anyway, I suggest talking to whatever your state senator or House rep and getting whoever on the phone and stating your position on that you're a resident of whatever city they are representing, and just say you want film incentives and your film tax credits back in the state, and you're aware that there is a bill coming up and we would like that passed because I'm a concerned citizen. Write letters. Yeah, donation is probably, due to the fact that we are the trade group that is actually doing the advocacy, I would say donate first and then do the phone calls and writing letters. And it's not a shill for money. We're all doing this for free as volunteers, and the only people that are making money is Edge, it looks like right now. But it's not free. I hope people out there that are listening to this will take that up into arms. But as a note, let me say, the bill is not fully finished yet. So it's still, we're hoping to get it in after the elections to see how things play out. We're hoping, we need 4 seats in the House and 4 seats in the Senate. The House is gettable. The Senate may or may not be, depending. But you get the House, you have the Democratic House and a Democratic governor, you have something to work with there, and you have a little bit of leverage. So I suggest everybody go out and vote as well.
Hell yeah, we need it.
Yeah.
We need it more than ever.
Yes, exactly. Bill's not out yet. It'll be introduced, well, we're looking to get it in before the end of session, which is August something. So Representative Wittenberg is currently running for Oakland County Treasurer, as you know. So he is term limited, which means he is sponsoring this, but we also are looking into other avenues for succession of the bill. So there will be somebody that actually picks the ball up and runs with it after the elections.
Awesome.
So we do have a plan. And we will have some sort of a video that we can release out on Facebook. We have MIFIA.org, www.mifia.org. And there's Facebook, Instagram. I don't know if we have a Twitter. We may. I don't know. No, who knows if they're banning it, but it's, but yeah, we'll have something else. So cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your help and for the short notice interview.
All right, dude. Well, say hi to your dad. And,
yeah, we'll do.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. Cool, man.
All right. Have a good one.
You too, bud.
See ya.
See you.
If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Although it was sad hearing about Michigan's struggles getting film productions to come back, it was so interesting to hear Brian's experiences working on film sets with all the COVID precautions being put into place. Thank you to Mr. Brian Kelly for doing this short notice interview. It was a pleasure as always. And as he mentioned before, you can show your support for the Michigan film industry by providing donations at mifia.org. That's www.mifia.org. You can also show your support by sending letters to your local state House representatives. Thank you for listening, and as always, stay tuned for more Motor City Stories.